Daniel Carter had everything: wealth, status, and a reputation as one of the youngest millionaire CEOs in New York. Yet, when his fiancée, Emily, told him she was pregnant, fear gripped him tighter than love ever had. He worried about responsibility, about being trapped, about how fatherhood might ruin his empire. In a moment of weakness, he walked away. Emily begged him to stay, not for her sake but for the child they had created. But Daniel's pride, clouded by ambition, made him deaf to her tears. He left her standing in the rain, clutching her belly with trembling hands. Years rolled by, but guilt followed Daniel like a shadow. He tried to drown it in success, but boardrooms and luxury mansions felt empty. He avoided relationships, convinced he didn't deserve love anymore. Then, 4 years later, at a children's charity event, Daniel's world stopped. Across the room he saw Emily. She looked stronger, more radiant than he remembered. But what made his heart freeze was not her presence. It was the 2 little children holding her hands. Twins. His twins. Their identical eyes, his eyes, looked curiously at him, unaware of the storm brewing in his chest. For the first time in years, Daniel realized he hadn't just walked away from a woman. He had walked away from a family. And now, fate had given him a second chance. But did he deserve it? Daniel's pulse raced as he watched Emily laugh with the twins, who clung to her like little stars orbiting their sun. He wanted to run to her, to fall on his knees and beg for forgiveness. But fear held him still. What if she hated him? What if the children grew up never knowing who he was? Summoning courage, he walked over. Emily turned, her smile fading the instant their eyes met. "Daniel," she whispered, almost like his name was a ghost from her past. The twins looked up curiously. "Mommy, who's that man?" one asked, tugging Emily's hand. Emily stiffened. "Just someone I used to know." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp, guarded. Daniel's chest tightened. "Emily, please. I didn't know you'd be here. But seeing you, seeing them." He glanced at the children, his throat tightening. "I've made mistakes I'll regret forever. But if you'll allow me, I'd like to at least know them." Emily's eyes glistened, but she quickly blinked the tears away. "Know them? After walking away when we needed you most? Daniel, I built this life alone. I carried 2 babies, worked double shifts, and prayed every night that they'd never feel abandoned. And now you want to show up because you suddenly feel guilt." Her words cut deeper than any business failure ever had. Daniel's hands trembled, but he nodded. "You're right. I don't deserve a place in their lives. But please, give me a chance to prove I've changed." For a moment, Emily studied him. Her twins tugged her arms impatiently, asking for juice boxes. And in that small, ordinary moment of motherhood, Daniel realized how much he'd missed, and how far he'd have to go to earn even a sliver of trust back. Emily didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned her attention to the twins, kneeling down to zip one of their jackets. Daniel stood frozen, terrified she would walk away again, this time forever. But then, unexpectedly, Emily looked up at him. "Tomorrow's the school fair," she said quietly. "They'll be there. If you want to show them who you really are, show up. Not as a CEO, not as a man with money, just as a dad." Daniel's heart leapt. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a chance. "I'll be there," he promised, his voice trembling with sincerity. The next day, he found himself standing nervously by the school gates, far more anxious than he'd ever been before a board meeting. When the twins spotted him, one pointed. "Mommy, it's that man again." Emily gave him a cautious nod, signaling he could approach. He knelt to their level. "I'm Daniel. I used to know your mom." One twin tilted her head. "Do you like cotton candy?" Daniel blinked, then laughed softly. "I love it. Want to share some with me?" Minutes later, the 3 of them sat on a bench, sticky fingers and pink smiles lighting the air. Daniel watched their laughter like it was a miracle. For the first time, he felt something shift inside him. Not guilt, but hope. Emily, standing nearby, watched too. Her arms were crossed, but her eyes softened as she saw Daniel stumble awkwardly through parenting, yet trying with all his heart. For Daniel, it was just a few minutes of cotton candy and games. But for Emily, it was proof. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the same man who once walked away. The fair was buzzing with music and children's laughter. Daniel trailed behind the twins as they darted from booth to booth, their excitement contagious. He bought tickets, carried prizes, and even lost at a ring toss game on purpose just to see their grins. For the first time in years, he felt like more than a businessman, he felt human again. But the real test came unexpectedly. One of the twins, Sophie, tripped while running and scraped her knee. She burst into tears, clutching her leg. Daniel's heart stopped. Normally, his instinct would have been to call someone else to handle it. An assistant, a nurse, anyone. But now there was no one else. Just him. He rushed over, kneeling beside her. "Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. Let me see." His hands shook as he dabbed the wound with a napkin. "I know it stings, but you're so brave." Sophie sniffled, staring at him with wide, tear-filled eyes. Slowly, she wrapped her tiny arms around his neck, burying her face against his shoulder. Daniel froze, then held her close, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. Something inside him cracked open. The wall he'd built around himself for years crumbled in that single hug. Emily, standing nearby, saw it all. Her breath caught at the tenderness in Daniel's touch, the way he soothed their daughter without hesitation. For the first time, she saw not the selfish man who left, but the father their children deserved. As the day ended, the twins begged Daniel to walk them home. Emily hesitated but finally nodded. That small step, her trust, meant more to Daniel than any business deal he'd ever closed. For the first time, he wasn't chasing success. He was chasing love he thought he'd lost forever. The walk home was quiet except for the twins' chatter about cotton candy and games. Daniel walked a step behind, unsure if he belonged in their little circle yet. But when Sophie reached back and grabbed his hand, his throat tightened. Her brother quickly copied her. And suddenly Daniel was walking hand in hand with the children he once abandoned. At Emily's doorstep, the twins dashed inside, leaving Daniel and Emily alone. The silence between them was heavier than words. Finally, Daniel spoke. "Emily, I can't undo the past. I was a coward, and I'll never forgive myself for leaving you when you needed me most. But today," holding Sophie, hearing them laugh, "I realize this isn't about me. It's about them. If you'll allow me, I want to be in their lives. Not as the CEO everyone knows, just as their father." Emily's eyes shimmered. For years, she had carried the weight of single motherhood, shielding her children from pain. She wanted to protect them, but she also saw the change in Daniel, the humility, the love he never once showed before. "You don't earn their trust with money, Daniel," she whispered. "You earn it with time, patience, and love. If you're willing to fight for them, then maybe there's hope." Daniel nodded, tears slipping down his face. "I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." Inside, the twins shouted for Mommy and Daniel to join them. Emily hesitated only a moment before stepping aside, letting him in. For Daniel, it wasn't just a doorway into a house. It was the doorway back into the family he thought he'd lost forever. Sometimes, the greatest fortune isn't wealth or success. It's the second chance to love and be loved again.